Scarcity is one of the underlying principles of economics. Because there is never as much supply of as there is demand for any given resource, there will always be competition for those resources. And society has to work out how will goods and services be allocated amongst the people who demand them. And different societies achieve this in different ways, but for us in a neoliberal economy, the predominant way we do is what was proposed by Adam Smith as early as the 18th century, in which he said that left unfettered without any external controls, an invisible hand will guide the price so the supply and demand will even out and some equilibrium will be formed. But this assumes and expects that we are competitive, self-interested individuals. Indeed, that is what we become even more so when we give ourselves over to the free market economy. We become more competitive, more demanding, more expecting that we will get more and more with ongoing economic growth. And we see the effects of this unbridled capitalism in our society, with stress, with envy of what others have and we don't, with overworking and high levels of competition. It's no great way to live, really. Jesus, of course, offers us an alternative, and it's an alternative we see partly in the gospel today, where Jesus presents to us the image of being guests at a wedding feast, where we deliberately don't choose the best seat, even if we might be deserving somehow of it. We deliberately take a step back and choose a lower seat in order that both to take the stress of competition out of our own lives, but that perhaps though we might be recognized and invited up to that higher seat by our host or by someone else. It's a lovely sense of those who are humble themselves will be exalted, but those who exalt themselves, those who grasp after and cling for the best things, will perhaps be humbled. Well, seats of honour at wedding feasts are probably not the good and service that you and I clamour for most. What in our society these days, we would look to find the best jobs, the best place at university, the best houses, the best prices, even to find a parking spot at Carlingford Court on Saturday morning. These tend to be things which we clamour after and compete for. But Jesus' way then is to say to us, let's take a step back. Let's not step into the fray of competition. Let's step back a little and so somehow not compete in the same way. This, of course, means we won't get the best deal. We won't get the most of everything. But it does provide a great alternative. It's the alternative of having such a humility that we actually come with the right heart toward God. And it's something which in the end is worth far, far more than any parking space, job, or house. A friend of mine told me recently that her parents sold their house in Sydney really at the bottom of the market. And of course, we know that house prices have risen so much since then. And when she commented years later to her mother, saying, "Oh dear mum, you really sold at the bottom of the market, didn't you? You didn't get the best deal." And her mother's instant response was, "How lovely for the people who bought the house that they got such a good deal." Without a hint of remorse or bitterness or sarcasm, her sense was joy that another person had gotten a good deal even at her own expense. I wonder how many of us could genuinely say the same. But she is an example of someone who is doing exactly what Jesus suggests, that we step out of this fray of competition and try and find a different way to live. And to do this really requires a sense of humility. And a way to do this, and of course humility is the virtue that Jesus praises time and time again. He asks us to be humble. And Jesus affirms that those who humble themselves will be exalted, perhaps in some other intangible way, but it is a good way to live. For us to humble ourselves, I think, means that we actually accept all of life as a gift, rather than something I deserve. We hear people say, they describe themselves as being a self-made man, or someone who says, "I've worked hard for what I've got." Well, that has a sense of meritocracy about it, doesn't it? That, I deserve everything I get. But to accept that all is gift, that if I've made good choices in my life, that perhaps I've made good choices because many good options were available to me, that I was given much to choose from, it actually really changes our perspective. And if we accept that all is gift and ultimately from God, it means that I will be grateful when good things come my way. But when good things don't come my way or I miss out, I can be accepting and let go, hold these things lightly and gently and simply let go. If I expect, though, that I deserve better, then I will always be tense, always be angry when I don't get what I want, and I'll always be in a sense of, of stress, striving to get what I deserve. So often I think our anger, or myself, but perhaps many of us, our anger or frustration in traffic comes from the fact that I believe I deserve to get there first. I deserve to get wherever I want to go with no one getting in my way. Clearly a very impractical position, but one I think we implicitly often actually have. And for us to let go and say, well, I have no more right to get there faster. My needs are no greater than anybody else's. That the person who's trying to pull in front of the lane in front of me, they deserve to go where they need to go as well. And perhaps their needs are actually greater than my own. This very simple change of perspective can make driving so much easier. Imagine if we could actually draw that out to all of life, to all of our business transactions, to all our many things we do in life. How much simpler and gentler and perhaps even happier life could be. This is a very countercultural way to live, but it really is at the heart of what Jesus invites us to. At no point does Jesus say, work hard to get everything you can. We hear the parable of the man who builds bigger barns, Jesus speaking exactly against that kind of thinking. So it is a challenge, one not easy to do, but one which is worth us hearing from Jesus time and time again, to live more simply, more gently, more humbly. But when we do humble ourselves, there is some exaltation, some blessing which God will give in some other, perhaps unexpected, but undoubtedly even better way.